So we received a question recently about a technical theological term called concupiscence. And concupiscence is one of the effects of original sin that even stays in us after baptism. It's kind of that internal chaos that leaves us susceptible or vulnerable to temptation and even to sin. And the question had to do with Jesus and Mary. Did they have concupiscence and were they tempted? And actually they're two distinct questions. Both Jesus and Mary, because of the uniqueness of their conception, didn't have that same kind of internal disorder that we have, that Achilles heel. But that doesn't mean that they didn't have to face temptation and they didn't have to exercise their freedom. We know for a fact that Jesus was tempted on at least one occasion, and when St. Luke tells us about it, he gives us the clear impression that this was not the only occasion. And the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 4, beginning with verse 14, speaks about the temptations of Jesus. Since we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus the Son of God, let us hold fast to our confession. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with us, with our weaknesses, but one who in every respect has been tempted as we are, and yet never sinned. Let us then with confidence draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. That passage is very consoling to me, because what it means, in effect, is that even though Jesus didn't have that inner vulnerability that I have, that you have to sin, he willingly exposed himself to every kind of temptation that we face, and by his ability to overcome that, gave us inspiration, grace, and strength, so that when we're tempted, we can go to Christ, who knows what it feels like on the inside to be tempted. And it's an all-encompassing statement. Whatever your temptations are, Jesus has faced them, and he did it willingly out of love for us. Similarly with Mary, we're not told about any specific temptation that she faced, but we know that she had one big decision that she had to make and that she had to reconfirm over and over again. And that was when the angel came to her and asked her to be the mother of God. She didn't have to say yes. But somehow she perceived that her whole life, her whole existence, her whole future hinged on that question. And the church teaches us that she had to repeat that yes over and over again, even when she didn't understand what was going on or why. When she had to flee from Bethlehem to Egypt, when they had to come back to Nazareth, when Jesus said, "Who are my mother and my brothers?" And above all, below the cross. The church teaches that Mary repeated her yes. And so we know that she also used her freedom to say yes to God in a very difficult situation. For me, that's very encouraging. It doesn't separate them from us. It brings them very close to us. And there are people to whom we can turn in those moments without having to be ashamed, without having to think that they don't understand. They do. And even though they may not have had that same kind of spiritual infirmity of concupiscence, still, with their freedom, they face the same fundamental questions, and we can draw on the strength of their victory. Thank you, and God bless.